Hello, and welcome to the Last Movie Outpost. All of your movie news, reviews, and everything cool about film. Back in 1984, I was 9 years old. I was lucky enough to have a homemade cinema where me and my dad would watch all kinds of movies together. And one of those movies that really stuck with me over the time was The Last Starfighter. Now, if you'd have told 9-year-old me at some point in time in my life, I'd have been interviewing the Alex Rogan, who was played by Lance Guest, I would have laughed heartily in your face. But I'm so pleased to say today that we are joined by Lance. Lance, thank you so much for joining us.
Certainly. We have a bit of a homemade cinema at our house. We have a screen, and we run the computer into a projector, and we run the sound through these big, huge speakers.
Okay.
Video. So it's
back in my day, it was all on 8mm. So my dad had a little 8mm cinema.
Oh yeah, no, I know.
He used to actually have curtains that opened and shut as well.
We made films, and there was no dialogue. It was like,
yeah. Yes, I've got a few silent movies which I'm not proud of now, being very, very young. But yes, I know you. Now, Lance has been in movies like Halloween 2 and a genuinely personal favourite of mine, Jaws Revenge. But we are going to be talking about today The Last Starfighter. Now, if somebody's never seen the movie, how would you describe it?
Well, since most people like to compare it to Star Wars, I look at it sort of like the hybrid of real life as it interacts with science fiction. So, and Alex behaves much like somebody would. He's very skeptical and very doubtful about this. Is this really happening? This isn't really happening. This is just a movie thing. So he is essentially abducted by an alien, but doesn't look like an alien. He looks like a, Frank Sinatra.
Music, man.
Yeah. Well, there goes my phone. And I think the appeal is that it is like a real kid involved in an extraordinary situation. And that differs from Star Wars, because Star Wars, the whole world is futuristic.
It's all set in a galaxy far, far away, as opposed to The Last Starfighter is set on Earth. Alex is one of those people that you might bump into at any time down at the local market or that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's, and Alex is somewhat of a isolated person because he lives in a trailer park in the mountains, which is a fairly isolated. Here in the States, it's a pretty isolated community. And the fact that they didn't come up with this before, that John was like, hey, why don't we, John, the writer, was like, hey, this is a pretty good idea. Let's make a movie about this. The video game is a training ground for actual pilot skills that are required to fight an intergalactic war. It's fun that way. People, anybody that plays video games are like, what if this was real? Wouldn't that be cool? And now they use it in, training for the military and stuff like that. It's crazy. It's like,
yeah,
little did we know. And weirdly, my father was a fighter pilot in World War II. He was an actual Navy pilot.
Wow. So again, it would have been a good experience to play the computer games before going into the real thing. Now, Nick Castle, the director, he was played the Shape in the Halloween movies, but in the second one he didn't. But he knew John Carpenter. But you were cast in Halloween 2, and that's where he initially saw you, isn't he? Is that how you got the part of Alex?
Well, this I found out in the special features of The Last Starfighter. Nick never told me this. So I found this out like 20 years was it 20 years after? 15 years after we shot the movie. And I had known Nick was friends with John because they had done Escape from New York together. And, it was just sort of common knowledge. John was the writer producer on Halloween 2, and he was cutting it. He was editing it, and Nick was in there in the editing room with him. And Nick's sort of like, who's that skinny guy running down the hall?
Who's that good-looking fella?
Yeah, I don't know. It just kind of like, because I'm working on a project. At that time, it was 1981. He was, I'm working on a project that, we need a young, whatever he called it, a Jimmy Stewart type.
Okay.
But so that's where it came. I was actually playing a college kid in Halloween 2. I was 20 years old, and it was the first movie that I ever made. So I was 20. So technically, I played a college kid before I played a high school kid.
Yeah.
So yeah,
You had those boyish good looks, so you managed to get
oh, yeah.
away with it.
And of course, I still do.
Now, I mean, I have to ask you. I am a huge fan of Robert Preston. The Music Man is one of my all-time favorite movies. He was as nice in person as most people make out, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. I was like a big fan of his. I learned the whole monologue, Trouble in River City when I was in.
Yeah.
I did musicals in high school, so we didn't do that musical, but I memorized it, because I like things with a lot of words, a lot of fast words. And so I already sort of had this weird connection, but quite honestly, what was really cool about him, I think I've said this before, and Kathy may have said this, is that he was a theater actor, he was a theater actor primarily. And so we did not get many takes. So we had to kind of get it right the first time. And so that involved like a lot of rehearsal. There's no like, okay, it's take 87. Now, why don't we do it this way? We didn't. There was none of that. It was like, you got to get it in 2. If you don't get it in 2, maybe you'll take 3, but that's it. We got to move on. So we're more like TV that way. So I would just knock on his door and say, "Hey, Press, could we maybe run through this, run through the scene again?" "Yeah, sure, kid." Lights up a cigarette, let's go. And it was great because that's how he worked, and you used to say that about, especially with older actors. They're just like, "Oh God, the younger actor wants to rehearse."
Here we go through the lines again. Yes.
You guys do this stuff in their sleep, if it would have been anybody else, but not him. He was just like, rock and roll, let's go. So I really appreciated that. I mean, it made a lot of difference because we had to sort of get every moment sort of perfectly mapped out, and so we could get it on the first 2 takes.
Ready to go. Yeah.
And so there was no time. We shot it, like I said, 38 days. We shot it in 38 days. So that really won me over to him. But because it was such a hectic schedule, and because I was carrying the film, there was like 3 scenes that I wasn't in. I was just hyper focused on.
It's a big responsibility, like I say, because ultimately the main actor can obviously make or break a movie, and ultimately it was on your shoulders.
Yeah. And so I'd done like 20 plays before I did this movie. So I knew how to do it, but it just was the first time I'd ever been in that, heavily featured in a film. So there wasn't a lot of time for palling around and, going out and having dinner together and going out for drinks or whatever people imagine actors to do. The experience I had with both Press and Dan were mostly what was happening on camera.
Speaking of that, obviously you spent a lot of time with Dan in the Gunstar set. You said this movie was shot over 38 days. How much time did you actually spend in the gunner's seat?
I'm going to say, I don't really remember, but I'm going to say about 5 days.
Oh, right. Oh, no, that's not that bad then.
Yeah, because it's one location. So it's one, it's almost one setup really in the Gunstar. So did all the Gunstar scenes. They just stick me there. Okay, we're doing, say there's 14 scenes where I do that. How long does it take?
Now, Catherine said that when she visited the set one day, you were doing the whole bit with the Death Blossom, which spun you around. Yeah. Did you ever get like sick?
I didn't actually hurl. Is there a British expression for hurling?
To be sick, yeah. I think hurl is. We definitely did. I understand where you're going with that.
There's a lot of cutesy, cool British words. I don't know about hurl. Anyways, the cage literally. It wasn't the camera moving. The camera stayed still. It was me that was, doing the 360 and the,
Yeah.
And it makes it look better on film. So then you really feel like you're there.
Yeah.
Although a POV of me would have been fun too. It might have made the audience sick, but I mean,
That's right. Yeah, and actually see you. Yeah.
give Lance the camera. So, but yeah, I got sick, but I didn't throw. I didn't like I said, I didn't throw up. But I was like, I was good for about 2 or 3 of those, and it was like,
That's enough takes. I think we've got the shot. So obviously, the movie was completely groundbreaking in the special effects. Whenever I describe it to somebody, I say it's the first movie to use these, computer generated special effects. Was it the premiere that you first saw the finished movie?
Sadly, I saw, because I had to do ADR. You all know what ADR is, right?
Yeah, audio dub replacement. Yeah.
So it was around about, I guess it was May. We shot it in April, May, sometime in June, or I can't remember, but actually, no, I'm sorry. It was shot in 83, so it would have been the following year.
Right.
I think I did ADR. I dubbed about 80% of the, as I remember, not 80. I can't remember, but there was a lot of work to do. And so I saw the entire film in black and white, no music and no effects scenes. So there was just one scene, like effects scene here. And
Yes.
we didn't know what it was going to look like because it's the first time they ever did it. This is the first time they ever did digital.
Oh yeah.
Moving digital stuff. They did a little bit with Tron, but that was more, to me, it seemed like more of a layout thing than actual articulating. So yeah, I was so I kind of just saw it in chunks. So you don't really get a sense of what the real movie's like. I'm just looking at my acting and do I suck here? Am I phony?
Who cares about the special effects? How do I look?
Yeah. So I figure out if I believe me, but it's not anything like seeing the final piece. So the final, I never saw the cast and crew screening because I was doing a play in New Mexico or something.
Oh,
And
right.
I think I saw opening night. Yeah, I saw opening night. I'm sorry, not. I saw opening night at the Lenzic Theater in Santa Fe, New Mexico, where it was an ancient theater where the sound system's like from 1965, and it's a beautiful building. But
yeah. The old cinemas like that are wonderful. So,
they're great, but it's kind of like going to the Revival House or something. But I guess we saw it at Universal. That was the big premiere, the big opening, and that's probably the first time I ever really saw it with a good sound system and everything. And I don't really remember. That was a bit of a blur for me, because I just wanted it to be what I saw. When I saw the script, I wanted it to be what I saw, and I think after all these years, it is.
Even now, I mean, I put it on before I spoke to Catherine. I put it on again, and yes, some of the graphics are a little bit dated now and so forth, but it's just the whole movie is just such a wonderful movie. It's a timeless story.
Yeah, I'm very proud.
It's kind of one of those films that hasn't aged in the last 40 odd years. It's still just a wonderful feel good movie that you can sit down and you can enjoy. And I mean, there was talk about a sequel, but whatever happened with that?
Well, I'm not really the person to talk to about that, but as far as I know, most people know that the rights were sort of in murky
gray area.
And Jonathan Betchwell, the writer, has owned the rights for at least 5 years, maybe 10 years. I don't know. But they finally secured them. He finally was a lot of going through it and stuff. And, he's working on it. He and Nick's also doing some work on it. And
there's a script kicking around somewhere.
I'm not. I may have my ideas, but I don't. I don't own the rights. And it's there. It's John's baby, and it's his. And I have great faith in him. He's got a lot of great ideas and stuff. But it's not. I'm not on the phone going, okay, so where are you now, John? That's not my style. So
no, fair enough.
I think he's going to do what he wants to do. He's a good writer. He's a smart guy.
Hopefully, one day we may. Listen, Lance, I know you can't talk for very long and everything else, so we'll wrap it up there. But thank you so much for joining us. This is genuinely one of those things where I'd like to say I'd never believed I'd have been talking to one of my I don't want to say childhood hero, but it's just somebody whose movies has stuck with me for the last, for the last 40 years. Um, Honestly, Lance, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, sure. Thank you. Thank you. It's great to talk to you.
There we go. Because we just went over the 15 minutes there, so I don't want to keep you talking. That's all.
You know,
Um,
I I do like to talk, so it's really hard for me. So I kind of like.
I found that with Catherine as well. She's a talker, bless, in the nicest way, is what I
Yeah.
mean. But like, yeah, I mean, uh, I can't imagine again that the whole because I think actually Maggie was kind of my first movie crush because I mean Catherine was
Oh,
she still
Maggie.
is Maggie, yeah, she was, and I think it's both of your characters were just so wonderful. Like I say, if I met Alex and I was in America, I know he'd become my friend, because he's just a nice guy. And the same with Maggie, Maggie was just that lovely girl next door, and the chemistry that you had between the two of you again was just it was wonderful.
Yeah, I really lucked out. It just was. It's so much fun to like work with her. She's just is fantastic, and she's like a good friend, and
Um,
it's just really she's the greatest. You know, she's Canadian. She's Canadian.
I don't hold that against her. That's all right.
No,
You say like it's a bad thing.
no, we're kind of in we're in the doghouse with Canada right now, so it's it's kind of like
Oh, yeah, yeah. Uh, Lance, listen, I'm not going to push your voice anymore. Listen, thank you so much. I've got an article which I'm working through for the last movie outpost. I'm also going to be working on a video in the long run. But once I've got this edited up and everything else, I'll send you across a quick link. And
oh,
I must admit, one of the guys I said that about the Jaws 4, and one of the guys I know is a huge fan of it. One of our editors, what he said he would like to do at a later stage is maybe just send you some email questions that you could sit down and sort of write some answers to.
okay.
Jaws 4 is one of those movies I love. I'm trying to put this in the nicest way, but I love those cheesy B movies. They're fantastic. And Jaws 4 was utterly ridiculous, but at the same time, it's thoroughly entertaining.
Really?
Oh
Okay.
yeah. I mean, honestly, when it comes to those kind of movies, especially like Hollywood at the moment, there's just nothing that comes out that sticks with me. Not like the Last Starfighter or stuff like that. But I love those kind of like I say those B movies, the canon movies I've been having a run on, like the early John Claude Van Dammes and that kind of thing. They're terrible, but they're
Yeah.
great. They're thoroughly entertaining. And give me something that's entertaining over anything else, and I'm a happy man.
Did you see The Apple?
Yes.
That's I think of the whole genre, that's my favorite. That's of what you're talking about. That's
Was
definitely
so bizarre. The bit that got me is the song at the end when everybody's in the beds, and there's a song, and I can't remember how it goes, but they're kind of implying sexual activity, but they're not really implying it. They're like really, and even I was sat there listening to the lyrics, going, "That's really dodgy." What they're saying. It's like they're not putting any punch in there.
like I told her, if you're trying to uh whatever, keep your 13 or 14-year-old kids from having sex, show them that movie.
That's brilliant. Yeah, that is that's the
Well,
best
maybe not
contraception
your
in the
girl.
world. Oh, Lance, listen, I am going to let you go. Thank you so much. Hopefully, we'll catch up again at some point in time in the future. But other than that, thank you so much, and like I say, I really do appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you too. Have a good day.
Thanks, Lance. Bye bye.
Bye bye.